Guys, everyone's busy talking about the schedule, the offense, George Pickens being absent, but nobody is giving any real attention to how this Cowboys defense has been quietly stacking up some serious updates. Honestly, whatever I'm about to share with you, I genuinely believe is a major step forward to something we've been missing on this defense for years. And you know, just because of the defense, we could not make into the playoffs, but this time it seems we are about to make a deep playoff run. Trust me. And on top of that, I'm going to get into what Dak Prescott had to say about the Cowboys 2026 schedule. So let's get into it. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook. Cowboys, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So the first thing I want to talk about is DeMarvion Overshown. And look, I know a lot of you have kind of pushed into the back of your mind. Honestly, I get it. When you start listing out the players on this defense, Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, Caleb Downs, Jalen Thompson, Kobe Durant, Rashawn Gary, Donovan Ezeriuaku, Overshown doesn't even come up in the first wave anymore. And that's a problem because not too long ago, like a year and a half ago, I would have put this man in the conversation as one of the better defenders on this entire team. But injuries, man. Injury after injury just kept stacking up, and we kept hitting pause, and now here we are wondering if he's even healthy enough to be a factor. Well, here's the update, and I mean this is the kind of thing that actually got me excited. Overshown is healthy, no brace, not rehabbing. He's training, like actually training for the first time in an offseason as a completely healthy man. And when he talked about it, the confidence in his voice was just different. He said something like, everybody knows when I'm healthy, I'm one of the best linebackers in this league. And you know what? The film backs that up. When this man is on the field at full go, he flashes like a superstar. The problem has always been staying on the field. So to hear him come out and say he's going into training camp healthy, that he feels like people haven't even seen his best yet, I mean, honestly, I'm back on the Overshown train. I was starting to get off of it. I'll be real with you. But that right there pulled me back. And here's the thing that I think is really pushing him too. Sean Barham is right there. Barham is literally looking over his shoulder, and that competition is real. That's the kind of thing that brings the best out of a player. You can't get comfortable when somebody's right behind you, ready to take your spot. So that competition at the linebacker level is only going to make Overshown better, and I'm here for all of it. Now, speaking of other things that got me thinking, Overshown also talked about Christian Parker. And look, this is the part that kind of stopped me in my tracks a little bit, because when players highlight specific things about a coach without even being asked a direct question about it, that tells you something. Overshown was talking about how CP, yeah, that's what he called him, CP, comes to work every single day ready to work. He's in the meeting room quizzing guys, not just drawing up plays, but actually asking players why they're doing what they're doing. Why are we making this call? What's the purpose of this assignment? Why does this help us force a 3 and out? He breaks it all the way down 1 through 11 on the field, and he makes sure everybody understands the reason behind everything. And the reason that stood out to me is that when a player is specifically pointing that out, the detail, the depth, the why behind everything, it makes you wonder what the heck was going on before. Like, was this level of detail and explanation always happening in those defensive meeting rooms? Because if Overshown is going out of his way to highlight it now, like it's something special, something new, then maybe it wasn't always the standard. And that's a little bit of a gut punch when you think about it, right? How much time did we lose with a defense that maybe just wasn't coached with that kind of intentionality? But I'll stay positive here, because right now the vibe from the players is genuinely good. Overshown said he's been meeting with his linebacker coach Scott Simons since he got there, already been around his family, said he's just a great guy, and the coaching speaks for itself when you look at his resume. That kind of relationship between a player and a coach matters more than people give credit for. When a player actually trusts his coach, he plays faster. He plays with more confidence, and that's exactly what we need from Overshown this year. Now, from the coaching side of things, let's talk about what Christian Parker is actually doing with this defense schematically, because this is where it gets really interesting. The Cowboys are moving to a 3-4 defense, 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. Now, your outside linebackers in a 3-4 are not really what most people think of when they hear linebackers. They're really stand-up edge rushers. That's what they are. It's basically what we used to call a 50 defense back in the day, a 5-man front, where those edge guys are just standing up. instead of hand in the dirt. And this change right here could be a really big deal for one specific player that a lot of Cowboys fans have kind of written off. I'm talking about Sam Williams. And look, I know what some of you are thinking, but hear me out. Sam Williams, 6'4", around 260 pounds, ran a 4.54. This guy had all the physical tools when we drafted him. I remember watching him and thinking this dude is going to be an absolute problem in this league, but with his hand in the dirt as a traditional edge rusher, it just never clicked the way we thought it would. And here's the thing a lot of people forget. This is what he did in college. The stand-up edge rusher role, the 3-4 outside linebacker role, that's where he came from. That was his natural position, and he was really good at it. So you put him back in that environment, and suddenly it's a complete different conversation. And the other part of this that I think people are sleeping on, Sam Williams is another year removed from his ACL tear. Now, I say this a lot, and I'll keep saying it because people don't always give this the credit it deserves. When a player comes back from an ACL, just because they're back on the field doesn't mean they're back. It genuinely takes another year before your body and your mind are fully back to where they were. You saw it with how Sam Williams actually got better as last season went on. And I don't think that was just learning the defense. I think that was him getting his confidence back in that knee, getting comfortable, trusting it again. And now going into this offseason, he's another year further away from that injury. You know, it reminds me of DeMarcus Lawrence because people forget that DeMarcus Lawrence had 2 sacks his rookie year, went through a rough stretch, got basically written off, and then went out and proved everybody wrong. The Cowboys believed in him when a lot of people didn't. And I think they see something similar to Sam Williams. Players don't always fail because they can't play. Sometimes they fail because the system just wasn't right for them. And there's a real argument that the hand in dirt traditional edge rusher role was never really the best fit for Sam Williams to begin with. And think about this too, in a 3-4 defense, you are outside linebacker, sometimes drop into coverage, you faking a pass rush, dropping into the flat, maybe picking up a tight end coming through. And Sam Williams has that speed. He's been a special team standout, which actually translates well into that kind of role. So this might not be as out of the left field as it sounds. I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler tomorrow, but I am saying this could be the year we finally see what he's actually capable of. Okay, let me quickly cover what Dak Prescott says about the schedule.
Honestly, after that, I couldn't tell you much more. I mean, I know right around who we're playing Thanksgiving and some here or there, but to me, it's the first 3 games. I want to know first opener, first home game, and then just happens that we're going to Rio in the 3rd game. But I can honestly, every year, I probably couldn't tell you who our 4th opponent is until week 2. And so, yeah, just keeping it simple.
Basically, he touched on the schedule and specifically the 3 games in 11 days situation that we're going to have to deal with and actually have to deal with twice this season because we've got the Brazil game early on and then, of course, Thanksgiving. So we're literally looking at 6 games in 22 days this season in a 17-game schedule. That's not small. And Dak addressed it in a way that felt really calm and really real. He said it's his first time playing an international game going into his 11th season, and he's excited about it. He acknowledged the travel is going to be tough, but said it's part of growing the game, and they'll figure out the best way to manage their bodies. He pointed out that they do 3 games in 11 days basically every year around Thanksgiving, so it's nothing completely new. They just have to do it earlier and then turn around and do it again. And his whole point was simple. If you can get on top and win those games, it goes fast. You just have to make sure you're locked in from the jump and don't let those games slip away. I loved hearing that because that's not someone who's worried. That's someone who's already thought through the challenge and figured out how to approach it. And then he talked about prime time, and you could just hear the excitement in how he talked about it. Playing in New York, prime time, always fun going up against those guys. He said it's the best, and that's just something he and this team are used to. 6 primetime games this season. We're going to be on everybody's TV every single week practically. That's where you want to be. But honestly, what really got me was what Dak said about his expectations for this team overall. He talked about just growing every day, building the brotherhood, and building off of what they did last year. He touched on the defensive changes, saying he wants those guys to find their identity, create their culture, and figure out who they want to be. And he talked about George Pickens, said he's shown him to support, knows that when George has to be there and ready to play, he's going to be there, called him a hell of a talent.